Hey, yo, what's up? So we got an interesting video today, based on the title, "America Wants You Broke," and you just need to get back to work. And we're gonna break down a few things here. Um, all right, so first and foremost, I've been getting a lot of comments, right? A lot of comments about how an individual should take the initiative and get off their ass and put the blame, on themselves. Don't make no excuses, in the whole 9 yards. And all I simply say is that you're just defending the oligarchs. You're defending the elite. You're defending the they. That's what you're doing. And you're telling everybody else this shit. You're giving this fake motivation shit that does not work and mathematically does not help the next person. That's why more and more people need to tune into my channel here, because I'm able to really give the raw, uncut truth on how things are, right? Whether it's through economic and numbers, or whether it's through spirituality, whether it's through just basic raw truth, because that's how I'm going to do it. I'm not about to sit here and motivate people and shit like that, because motivation ain't gonna do shit. It's just gonna wear off, and then you're gonna have to go find some more motivation and shit again. I'm telling you the raw truth because you may need to make adjustments in your life and in your situation in order to overcome the nasty, devious work that the elites and the oligarchs are pressing upon you. Okay, so I'm gonna break these things down right here. We'll get right into it. All right, so they want you broke, right? And basically, we're gonna talk a little econ when it comes to nominal purchasing power through gold and through our US dollar today when it comes to what they call the fiat. Okay. Now, we're going to start around the 1970s. Okay. The 1970s, right before uh, President Nixon took our dollar off of the gold standard. Okay. Now, why is this important? All right. So, in the 1970s, minimum wage was around $1.60. However, $1.60 an hour, it bought 0.044 ounces of gold, okay, at that time. Today, gold is worth around $3,300 today, okay? At that time, it was 0.044 of gold, okay? Now, for my mathematicians out there, you really don't need to be a mathematician. Now, let's multiply the ounce of gold at that time in the 70s, 0.044 times the price of gold today, which is 3,300. So we'll multiply that. And then what happens is it equals out to $146 an hour, okay, in nominal purchasing power. So you go from $1.60 in 1970, fast forward today, that same math is supposed to be $146 in nominal purchasing power. Okay. So basically, when Nixon took the dollar off of the gold standard, it caused a major backlash in how we're able to spend our money and how far our dollar, not our dollar, our dollar is able to go. So now you're making more when it comes to, on paper, you're making more money at your job when it comes to minimum wage. However, the money does not stretch for costs for goods, services, housing, things like that. You're struggling paying more because the purchasing power of the dollar is decreased. Okay, and that's because the fool took the dollar off of the gold standard in 1971. All right. Now, let's do a quick example. All right. So, 1970s on a gold standard, it took the average median wage earner 7 to 8 years in order to own a home. And I don't mean you're just consistently making a bunch of fucking payments for 30, 40 years, 60 years, 60-year rate mortgage. I'm talking about 7 to 8 years to owning the home because of it being on the gold standard. Okay? Now, off of the gold standard today, 2025, is now closer for the minimum worker to, um, it would take 30 years for the minimum worker in order to afford a home. For a median wage worker today, it would take 15 years to own a home. And now, keep in mind, this does not reflect inflation, tariffs, or any other man-made type of price increase, right? These are just raw numbers, okay? But now, based on what you're hearing, is that you understand how important it was to make sure our dollar wasn't dying. And it's been dying because of very ruthless decisions and acts of man-made presidents and governments making these terrible decisions. It's been crushing us, right? So in 1970, a single income could cover not only the home, but the car and the family needs. You got that? So you can imagine how that kept a family together. You have one person that's able to afford more home goods and the cost of living. They were able to afford that. So off of one income in the 1970s. Now, when you talk about what has really changed, we still live in houses. We still go to work. We still drive cars. So what the fuck really changed? But in 1970, in the predate of that being on the gold standard, it kept shit in line. So that means that these motherfuckers weren't able to go around start making all of these man-made inflation decisions and and making all of these other tariff decisions, causing people to have to spend more money and work longer and harder multiple jobs right now today. Right? So these are the type of things that I'm talking about. I just broke down the numbers to you, and I'm showing you in real time why you shouldn't just put the blame on yourself because someone else tells you to shut the fuck up and stop making excuses. Because at the end of the day, you didn't choose to take the gold standard, the dollar, off of the gold standard. Did you do that? I'm asking everybody that comes onto my comments and talks shit about people, about making excuses and all of this bullshit. Did you do that? Did the person that you're talking to do that? Or did the government and the elites do that shit? Exactly. Exactly. Because you guys don't do the necessary research. And a lot of you guys are baby boomers, right? And then I'm not going to rip you apart because my mother and my father are baby boomers. Okay? But what I'm going to tell you is that you guys don't do any research and you're still living in the 1970s. That's where your mind is at. That's why you guys think that shit today is exactly as it was at that time, which is not correct, right? And like I said, I just broke down everything from the top to the bottom in less than 3 minutes. Now, what are some decent solutions, right? And this is just something that I would do in this time in 2025. Okay. Now, You can obviously still get gold, right? You can still get gold. However, gold is still kind of like in the holdings of the elite, the and the massive oligarchs, right? But then you can also shift and learn a little bit more about Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is actually a savings mechanism that typically goes up over time and has been doing that for the last 16 years, right? And the thing about Bitcoin is that it's decentralized. It's unable to be hacked and manipulated like everything else. And just like the dollar's been manipulated and broken down, and that's why when you go and you try to buy things, and you no 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 when you go and you work hard and you receive your paycheck, and you keep thinking that if you keep working and working and working, eventually you're going to supersede and move up to new levels. But that's never going to happen with the dollar not being tied to something feasible in order to get the purchasing power out of the negative. We today, the dollar's purchasing power is in the negative. When the dollar was on the gold standard, your dollar could stretch. You could buy more goods and services. Listen to me. You could buy more goods and services at that time because the dollar was more powerful, and it was not in the negative. Today the dollar's in the negative. So you cannot combat and argue with me unless you actually bring us some information to the table that says, other than you're making excuses, get up off your ass. You have to bring more than that, else I'll rip you apart. You understand where I'm coming from? This is a millennial talking here. So I've seen both sides. I've seen both sides. I seen a little bit of the baby boomer side, the Gen X side, and today the Gen Z side. So what you gonna say? What you gonna say? Yeah, that's what I thought. But I just wanted to drop that to you guys. This is some quick economic stuff because I wanted to decipher all the things that these people keep saying about how you should blame yourself for all the things that are going on here, thanks to the oligarchs and the elite, as I've been making these videos and telling you about them all along. Okay, so all this shit that's going on with inflation and tariffs, that shit's all man-made. They're doing that shit so they could pocket more fucking money. You're gonna continue to be working your fucking job until you're out of here in a box. Trust me, that's exactly where it's going right now. So if you're going to save, I would save in Bitcoin. I'm telling you what I would do, because that's the only savings mechanism tool that's feasible for the everyday person to be able to do. Most people say, why don't you buy real estate? But remember, you got to be able to save, and you got to be able to qualify to get loans and this, that, and the third. And you also have to realize that the interest rates upon real estate are extremely bad right now. Okay. And then some people say, well, why don't you go ahead and do stocks and do options and then trade? And you could do that, but you got to be good at gambling. You got to be okay with losing money before you actually start making money. Now, do you want to lose money and you're already fucking losing money now? You're right. So I'm saying I've seen all that shit. I've heard all that shit before. Okay. So you guys listen to me. Gen Zs, Gen X, if you want to, millennials, you know what I'm saying? This is the facts right here. All right. Straight up. So if you're listening for the first time, like and subscribe to this video. And remember, the truth is in session. Peace.